it's not like you and me are trying to build this. We're talking about massive platforms with massive resources that any one of their guys can go in there and code what we're talking about within a week or two, or a team of them can go in there and do it. You can submit a PayPal link, so you get paid through PayPal. Right. You can submit your direct deposit stuff for your bank account and get paid every month and set these things up. This is not like manpower or woman power, person power to be writing checks and mailing them. And those days are gone.
And let me tell you this, by doing that, right, it doesn't even affect the aggregation business, because you still need to go to them to place your film, to deal with the encoding and the QCs and all of that stuff. You still need to pay them those service fees. But then what happens, if anything, I would think that the aggregators would actually be on board for this too, because it suddenly eliminates this massive strain from them.
Which they're barely getting paid anything for in the first place.
The joke, they're essentially a go-between, right? They're a go-between. They're a third-party collection account. That's all they are, right? It's no different than something like Vintage or Freeway, but at least those major collection accounts, they're bonded and insured and everything else. So it's sort of a joke. It's sort of a joke to think that what I'm suggesting is going to hurt anybody's business. If anything, this protects everybody by implementing a direct pay source. To still keeping the aggregators in place to deal with delivery, and in some cases even pitches, where the platforms are sort of protected from the idea of getting inundated by thousands of filmmakers wanting to talk to them, or so they could be a go-between in that sense, right? But they should not be allowed to control our money, and this way it alleviates the accounting responsibility from the aggregators, while at the same time protecting the independent filmmaker and the mid-level distributors and distributors of all levels, and at the same time relieving some potential liability from the platforms. Because I got to tell you, I mean, in speaking to my attorney, he was like, "This sounds crazy. This sounds like there is liability on their part if they're mandating it, right? Again, this isn't something where we went out and found people on our own, right? We didn't go out and just find Joe Blow who called himself an aggregator. And some of these platforms, they list the companies on their own websites of who's approved. You're going to tell me you're going to tell me these attorneys at these big major platforms see no holes in that? They see no liability?
If I sign a deal with Netflix for $2 million for my movie, and it's spread out over the course of 2 years off the deal, so every quarter I get whatever, $250,000 or whatever it is every month or every quarter, and I was told you've got to go through Go Digital. They're the ones that are going to do everything, and they're going to handle the payments. You mean to tell me that halfway through they go out of business and go through what's going through, that Netflix is not responsible at all for that? Obviously they are. Obviously they're liable. And for a small guy like me or a mid-level distributor like you, we're talking about tens, thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But when you're talking about millions of dollars on a deal, man, people might walk away with $50,000 because they're like, it's not going to be worth it. But when it's $3-4 million you're owed, I promise you, some attorneys are going to get involved.
Well, and here's the other problem too. Let's talk about also what's broken about the aggregation side of collecting our funds. So all these people, they say, oh, the model is, collect 100% of your revenue, and let's put aside the in profit faster. Don't forget that was the tagline for distributor. In profit faster. Right. And let's talk about and let's for a second sort of extract the couple of them that charge a percentage, right? That don't charge you fees, but take a percentage for the life of the film.
Sure.
So the dashboards that you're given access to, right? Get access to your dashboard, see how your film's performing, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Those dashboards don't mean shit. Those dashboards are the dashboards are property of the aggregator, not the platform. Those dashboards are only as good and as transparent as the data being entered as the raw data comes in from the platforms. So as the raw data comes in for your sales from any given platform, some accounting person at the individual aggregation company has to then implement that raw data into your individual film's dashboard, right? Now, what if they're not doing that properly? What if they miss something? What if they screw something up? What if they're being lazy about it? And unless you demand the right to see your raw data from the platform, which, by the way, you have a right to ask for, filmmakers know this. You have a right to ask an aggregator for the raw data from the platform. And they're going to give you some nonsense about, oh, well, we get these big reports and it's all the films and we can't give that to you because it's got other film. Bullshit. They can extract the raw data title by title by title.
Mm-hmm.
I know it for a fact. Don't let them tell you that. If you are dealing with an aggregator and you want to see your raw data, mm-hmm. which will show every single sale, chargeback, everything from the platform, ask for it. They have to give it to you. Anybody who doesn't give it to you or gives you some excuse, I would question the accountability of that particular aggregator. Okay? So just know that.
Fair enough.
Now let's talk about distribution and independent distribution and some of the things that I actually plan on doing when I'm out from underneath this mess, because I'm really working so hard with my team to not only pull our films, which are almost completely out from underneath this mess, and get everybody back on track while we're dealing, obviously, with our new releases. Sometime next year, I actually plan on putting together a little workshop that is about the pros and cons of indie distribution and the pros and cons of distributor versus aggregator, although there are some differences, kind of one and the same in their own right. There are certain things to not be afraid of. First of all, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions about what the distributor is going to do. Let's talk about distributors right now, not aggregators. If a distributor, if a distributor is interested in your film, and let's talk about North America just for right now, and they're yammering at you about how great your film is going to do, how much money your film is going to make, if they're giving you estimates. Now, some of them do. I know some of them. I've been on the other side of those phone calls as a filmmaker. Here's what you do. Once they've dazzled you with how much money your film is going to make, say, that's great. That's wonderful. Do me a favor. Will you advance me 25% of those estimates? Now, what's going to happen is you're going to hear crickets on the other end of that call. Okay. Let's say distributors offering you a legitimate minimum guarantee where they're paying you some sort of actual advance. Then they're not putting their money where their mouth is. What they're doing is they're blowing a lot of wonderful sunshine up your ass because they know you want to hear it. They know you want to hear how great your film is and how much money they're going to make you.
All right.
Guess what? They don't know shit. They don't know shit. Because if we all had a crystal ball, if we all knew how films were going to perform, there'd never be a failed film. There'd never be a film that fell on its face. Never, not once, because we'd have the magical crystal ball. But we don't have it, right? So the difference, too, between a distributor and a foreign sales rep, let's talk about that. Now, foreign sales reps will, in fact, have the ability to give you estimates, highs and lows. But those estimates are based on their experience taking similar films to the market, having sold them to various territories. So they're coming from a very knowledgeable place of understanding the market, understanding what's being sold that's similar to your film. But even then, all foreign sales reps, the best ones in the biz, they'll be the little tiny, thing at the bottom of those estimates of those highs and lows. They don't guarantee you that they're going to hit any of those, even the lows, right? They don't guarantee it. But it's a guideline. And it's a reasonable guideline. North American distributors have no way of knowing what your film is going to make. Period. End of story. So unless somebody's offering you a nice fat check on the front side, they are talking out of their ass. End of story.